In a small, remote village hidden deep within a valley, a dark legend had started to stir back to life. Generations of villagers had heard tales about an old well at the edge of the settlement, a place where many said a restless spirit was buried. But as time passed, the legend became just a bedtime story, something to scare children and little more. Until, that is, strange happenings began to creep into the village. The trouble started subtly, a low, haunting whisper that carried through the fields at night, unseen shadows flickering in doorways, and an unshakable chill that settled over the village as the sun set. Soon animals in their barns began to refuse food, pacing nervously and staring blankly into the dark as if something invisible was standing in front of them. And then, the whispers began to call villagers by name. One night, a young farmer named Rafik was returning from his fields. The village was quiet, with only the soft hum of crickets and the occasional hoot of an owl breaking the silence. But as he walked, he heard something else, a dragging sound, like chains scraping across the earth, getting louder with every step. The hairs on his neck rose as he felt a cold grip on his shoulder, but when he turned, no one was there. Yet the air seemed thick, as if a presence was lurking nearby, watching him. He ran, his heart pounding, desperate to escape the invisible gaze that followed him home. Rafik's encounter was just the beginning. Each night, the spirit seemed to grow bolder. Houses shook with inexplicable force, and villagers would awaken to find objects scattered across their homes. Mothers clutched their children close, whispering prayers against the unknown. The whispers became louder, echoing through the narrow streets. Soon villagers started seeing a figure, tall and cloaked in darkness, with hollow eyes that shone like burning embers. It would stand at the edge of fields or outside windows, watching, waiting. The village elders called a meeting in the town square, hoping to find a solution. They debated what might have caused this ancient spirit to awaken. One elder, a frail woman named Parveen, told the villagers of a long-forgotten story. She spoke of a man, Ali, who had lived on the edge of the village generations ago. He had been a healer but was falsely accused of witchcraft and buried alive by fearful villagers at the old well. His dying curse was said to have bound his spirit to the village, his thirst for revenge slowly building over the years. Fear spread like wildfire, and some villagers even packed up and left, unwilling to face the wrath of a ghost. But a brave young woman named Layla decided to confront the spirit. She was known for her courage and stubbornness, traits that had often made her an outlier in the village. Determined to end the suffering, she armed herself with a lantern and headed toward the old well, just as darkness blanketed the valley. When she arrived, the air was still, almost suffocating. As she approached the well, her lantern flickered, casting long shadows that seemed to dance along with the breeze. Layla stood at the edge of the well and called out, her voice steady despite the growing sense of dread. "Spirit of Ali, why do you disturb this village? Speak, and I will listen." At first, there was only silence. But then the ground beneath her feet trembled, and a dark mist began to rise from the depths of the well. Slowly the figure of Ali emerged, a spectral form, tall and shrouded in swirling shadows. His hollow eyes seemed to bore into her, cold and accusing. "You remember me now?" The spirit's voice was a low, guttural sound that made Layla's skin prickle. "All these years, you've forgotten me, left me in darkness, but I will not be forgotten again." Layla gathered her courage, her voice trembling slightly. "I know what was done to you was unjust, but these people, many of them had nothing to do with it. Why bring them suffering?" The spirit let out a bitter laugh. "Why?" he echoed. "Because they live in the comfort that was stolen from me. Their ancestors buried me alive, and their children shall pay the price. I will haunt this village until the last soul has fled." But Layla didn't give up. "What if we give you peace? What if we give you the honor and respect denied to you in life? Let us give you the farewell you deserve." The spirit hesitated, as if the words struck something deep within him. But just then, a group of villagers who had gathered nearby watching in fear began shouting at Layla. "Enough of this nonsense. He's only a ghost. Spirits can't be reasoned with," one man yelled, gripping a torch. Without warning, several men from the crowd charged at the spirit, waving torches and shouting threats. Furious, the spirit let out an enraged roar that sent shockwaves through the air, knocking several of them to the ground. The torches went out, leaving only darkness and the glow of Ali's hollow eyes. The village was thrown into chaos as the spirit moved among them, his touch chilling, his whispers venomous. People stumbled, tripping over one another as they tried to flee. One by one, villagers began to fall, clutching their chests, overwhelmed by an invisible force. Even Layla felt a wave of despair, but she stayed her ground, calling out to Ali, trying to reach whatever remained of the man who had once been a healer. "Ali," she shouted, her voice breaking, "if you truly wish for peace, end this suffering. Let them make amends." Slowly the spirit turned to face her, his form wavering, less solid than before. His voice softened, filled with a sorrow that seemed endless. "They must remember," he said, his gaze distant, as if staring into another time. "Every year they must honor me. They must remember that even those unjustly wronged are never truly gone." With that, the spirit began to fade, his figure dissolving into the night. But before he disappeared entirely, he raised a hand, pointing to Layla. "This is your burden now. You must ensure they remember." As dawn broke, the villagers gathered at the well, bruised and shaken. They agreed to honor Ali's memory every year, lighting candles and telling his story so that his spirit might rest. From that day on, the village was left in peace, though no one dared to forget the promise made to the spirit of Ali. And every year, Layla would stand at the old well, lighting a candle, feeling the cold air settle briefly around her. A reminder that Ali was watching, waiting, bound to the village forever, so long as they remembered him.